You know, growing up, I think every one of us had that moment. Lying in the backyard, staring up at the night sky, feeling impossibly small beneath those endless stars. You look up long enough, and the universe starts to feel like an ocean, deep, dark, and full of mysteries we can barely grasp. And somewhere in that childhood wonder, that innocent curiosity, a question takes root. Are we alone? It's a question humans have whispered for generations, a question that shaped entire mythologies, religions, and scientific pursuits. A question that once lived only in the realm of speculation, science fiction, and the imaginations of kids who stayed up too late reading books under the covers. But now that we're older, the world feels different. The universe feels closer because today, high ranking officials, people with clearance, people with access, people who took oaths and live under the machinery of national secrecy are stepping forward. Former intelligence officers, pilots, military personnel, individuals who have nothing to gain and everything to lose. And they're saying things out loud that we used to think unthinkable. They're saying we've recovered crashed UFO craft. They're saying we've obtained non human biologics. They're saying the phenomenon is real. Not a conspiracy theory, not a blurry photo, not a complete campfire story, but real. And suddenly that childhood question, are we alone, doesn't feel hypothetical anymore. It feels imminent. Feels like something humanity is on the edge of confronting. So what does that mean for us? Well, does it mean if we discover once and for all that we're not the apex of creation, not only the intelligent capability of bending physics, crossing the stars, or slipping between dimensions we barely understand? Some people feel fear because new truths always challenge old comforts. Some feel excitement because discovery is in our DNA. But for all of us, it forces a reckoning. If we're not alone, then humanity must evolve spiritually, politically, scientifically. We have to rethink what life means, what consciousness means, what being human means. Maybe these revelations will unite us, maybe they'll divide us. Or maybe, just maybe, they'll remind us that Earth is one tiny, fragile home drifting through a cosmic wilderness far larger than any border or belief we've ever created. As we stand on the edge of this new frontier, we're back to being kids again, back under the stars, back wondering what's out there. Only this time, the question is no longer if we're alone. The question is, are we ready for the truth?
What do you see when you're in the dark?
Welcome to Buried Stories. I'm Jeff Mercurio. Along with me tonight, Wendell Brown. Wendell, how you doing?
Hey Jeff, man, I love your monologues. Those are awesome. Um, well done again. No, this is right up my alley. What we're talking about tonight, so I'm excited about it and look forward to it.
And a guest tonight, we got Zach Brown. Zach, thank you for taking time and being on the show tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Let's get into it.
All right, guys, I'm going to start off with a interview that I saw that really sparked this whole thing. So let me set that up real quick.
Can we just cut it down to, you believe that we have encountered alien beings and that they've come to Earth and that we know about it as a U.S. government?
That seems to be the case. I don't like to characterize necessarily where they came from. They're definitely some kind of non-human sentience, but it is true, believe it or not, we've recovered the vehicles and we actually have physical proof. And I was actually partially cleared into some of those activities. It was beyond oral testimony provided to me. I actually had partial access to the data and actually read the intelligence reports resulting from those programs.
Like with your own eyes,
Correct.
You saw it.
Yes.
And so when people say this is kooky, this is out there, there's nothing to back it up.
I don't speak for other parts of the government, but I can tell you NASA, which I speak for, is open and transparent with our data.
Do you believe what Mr. David Grush said, or is he lying?
Whatever he said, where's the evidence?
What do you say?
Certainly members of this current administration are very, very well aware of this reality. Certainly the current president is very knowledgeable on this subject, and I trust his leadership on it. And I think he's assembled an A-team cabinet, and I really believe if Trump wants to be the greatest president and the most consequential leader likely in world history, he certainly has the knowledge, the capabilities, and understanding of some of these sensitive government transparency issues.
I have access, and I speak to people about it. I've had actually meetings on it. People that are very smart and very solid have said they believe there is something out there. And, it makes sense that there could be. I've never been convinced, even despite that. I just, for some reason, it's not my thing.
So you think, one, he knows, and two, he's open to transparency on UAPs?
He certainly is very well informed on this issue. Leave it at that. I don't want to get ahead of what the president might want to reveal personally.
There's been a role to cover this up, you're saying, through administrations. And there have been people who have been threatened and told not to testify?
I was physically threatened even before I sent in my Intelligence Community Inspector General report under the previous administration. I actually had to go and seek legal protection that way because I was, literally in fear both professionally and in my personal life.
And when you mentioned in that testimony of recovering the pilots or remains non-human, that's something that you saw as far as the intelligence with your eyes?
Yes. And it is a very uncomfortable, even for me now, as somebody who's seen it, experienced it, even talking about it, because it's so outside a normal person's worldview to understand that there is this biological sentience that have piloted these crafts that don't necessarily look 100% like you and I.
Were there pictures? Were there?
There were. Yes, there were.
When I said from another planet or from outer space, you said we don't know where they're from. Is it interdimensional? What are we talking about?
I've talked to a lot of, I'll call graybeards on the program. That is a subject of hot debate on origin. As a guy trained in physics formally as well in my background, I leave an open mind on what the origin is. Certainly, there is the extraterrestrial hypothesis, and they could be coming from elsewhere off Earth, but I don't usually go there because I did not see that data, and I'm not conversant in the high confidence theories that the U.S. government had.
I'm not aware of any remains that the department has of any signs of extraterrestrial beings or activity or technology.
You say the U.S. government knows, but there are many other governments around the world. Do they know?
They have their own programs, and like I said 2.5 years ago, we have been in arms race with our peer competitors, namely Russia and China, and they have their own programs in this regard. And I was actually able to view a body of intelligence that discussed adversarial programs, and I'll leave it at that.
We've recovered.
Okay, did you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
All
No,
right.
were you playing something?
You had me scared there for a moment there. I was like, oh no, not again. Not again. So with that being said, David Grush, and we've heard it from a lot of other people, and I did see him testify in Congress with a panel of other people. So we have the military, we have other people with intelligence clearance and stuff saying that we do have bodies here, that they have seen bodies. So how do you guys take this? We'll go to you, Wendell.
They're not saying anything new. It's somewhat disappointing with President Trump's reaction, because that tells me he's out of the loop. So if you've seen the evidence, you would have seen the evidence. You would have had that opinion that he had. And he's a pretty honest guy. He can't keep his tongue tied sometimes. So I say he's out of the loop. Two, these things have been said for 40 years. Lazar and Corso already said them. These they said a long time ago that these entities. That's why if you watching say the biological whatever he called them, Corso and Lazar said it 40. Well, I'll say 40 years ago. Don't hold me to that. Could be 25 or 30. They said a long time ago that the pilots of these vehicles were created for these vehicles. So they're not aliens per se. Now I'm just going from what I've connected so far.
Right.
That they are alien creations or whatever people in the future's creation or wherever the origin is. You saw where he kind of dumped the bucket when you started talking about the origins because they don't know. And so, but Corso said it first before anybody did that these things were manufactured for these crafts. They're not living organisms that fly these crafts, living organisms to what we say, what we think of. And Lazar backed it up the same thing that the things that flew this were made to fly them. That was their only function in their existence was to pilot these crafts. Now, do you call them the robots or do you call them because they were living? You understand what I mean? They
Yeah.
were created and they were living, but they uh, but they had no other function. They didn't have a social. They weren't going to a party after they landed, kind of thing. Um, so these people aren't saying anything new that those of us that have followed it in the past, and it's sort of disheartening a little bit because they do act like they're saying something new. And I would like to say though, is it Grush? He was a major in the Air Force. Don't take that lightly. You don't go in the Air Force and become a major easily. I mean, if you're a major in any of the armed forces, you've committed to something. You went through a couple rounds of being analyzed, and because every year they go over all the officers, either get out or you can get promoted. But um, so don't take that lightly. That he was a major, that is a big deal. Same thing with Corso. He was a general, I believe, and you don't get to those ranks easily. They don't hand them out like candy, and uh, so that helps. That helps. I mean, I'm not one of those. I don't need the government sanction for this stuff, but it helps the general public, those that don't know anything but going to work and coming home and going to sleep. That when they see this stuff, it helps if the government's putting their stamp of approval on it. But but they're not saying anything new. All this is what we've been saying for 30 and 40 years, and now these people are kind of acting. It's a little offensive that they're acting like it's brand new, and it's not. Lazar said it. Corso said it. He told them a long time ago that these things were designed to fly these machines, and that's what the biologics he was talking about is. But
I got you.
that's my initial take on the subject. I'll get Zach in because I don't want to go on a 40-minute rant.
Zach, after hearing that, what's your take on that?
So I have several thoughts on this subject actually. So one, if the Pentagon admitted that unknown craft exist, I think dismissing the entire topic is no longer rational. The only question is, provenance. Where did they come from? Is it a foreign adversary, black project, or non-human intelligence, or extraterrestrial hypothesis, or biological sentient from blah, blah, blah. So this is part of my frustration is with like that guy. If you saw an alien, this question is not rhetorical. If you saw an alien or proof of an alien, what would your response be?
I told you so.
I would be
Bro,
like, that's a they they got fucking aliens. They have aliens. Not, well, yeah, if we follow the extraterrestrial hypothesis
yeah,
of biological sentience, and that's all that's all I'm allowed to say on that.
yeah. He
Anytime
goes
there's
up
a
against the
that's all
same
I'm a
wall.
yeah, if you ever hear, and that's all I'm allowed to say on that, or that's as far as I'm going to go on that, then they have been granted permission by someone of what they can and cannot say.
Yeah,
So I think you
I
can
agree.
discount that um, from the get-go. And it's really frustrating is that it's not authentic. Like, just say it. Like, is that how you
Yeah,
speak if you're having a beer with somebody?
yeah.
Like, the lack of authenticity is sickening, and it just I don't care if you're a major janitor, like, it's you don't have any credibility with me if you can't speak like a human being. I understand he might be a physics guy or whatever, but it seems like only physics nerds, weirdos, and guys with really weird haircuts are the ones that see aliens. Like, how
Yeah,
come nobody that can speak normal English and just flat out say what they saw? Like, did you see them? No, but this is what I did see. I saw a piece of paper and a big ass picture of an alien on it. It was an alien, not some biological, sentient, extraterrestrial hypothesis of this or that. It was an alien. It was
yeah.
not from here. I don't know where it's from. It wasn't from here. I'd never seen it before. And
I,
it was a humanoid looking thing with big eyes and, whatever. And the write up on it said this.
Right.
And it's
I
something that
agree.
you never forget. So I don't understand why they beat around the bush and and think of it this way. If this was true, if you saw that, and my dad says this all the time, if you saw it, like I told you, I know from this point on, I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care what anybody says. I know that this is true. I'm not still trying to figure it out. I'm not still trying to, you know, gather proof and all this stuff. I know for sure this is true. And if that's the case, then it makes you question some of the biggest questions of humankind. God,
Right.
any sort of religion, nothing else matters. Nothing. However, the fact that these guys need to remain professional and sound smart, that's still more important to them. That they saw a freaking alien. The absolute truth. It's not a rumor or anything like that. I saw an alien with my two eyes. And
Right.
I don't know. I think that until I see somebody with that conviction and natural, authentic reaction to seeing an alien, then it's hard for me to believe any of these guys. However, with 200 billion stars and just in our galaxy and a trillion galaxies out there in an ever expanding universe, the probability that we're alone rounds down to zero. So,
well, and I agree, Zach. He discredits himself when he gets up against the same wall that everybody else has gotten up to. Now, sadly, it's the same thing that drives everything in this world: money. This dude has a pension. He has a government pension. He has to be careful.
well, he's probably got a book
Uh,
coming out too.
yeah,
I
he has
bet
to
you
be
anything.
careful. But he discredits himself when he says, "That's all I'm willing to say right now." Well, dude, you are the exact thing that we fought against for 50 years, 40 years. I'll stay with 40. For 40 years. You're the guy we've been fighting against because there's been 30 other people that come along with your same story that said the exact same thing. I'll go this far with you, but I'm not willing to go any further. Well, what use are you? What use are you? You're testifying to Congress. You're going to get a book, like Zach said. You're going to be hot for a while. You're going to be trending, and you're going to get some money out of it. Again, what drives us. But um, he does discredit himself when he says, "I won't go any further." And you can't use the classified material thing. You should have never opened up your mouth
Yeah, I mean, you're a
if you were going to
whistleblower.
run. Yeah.
Like you're
You should have,
whistleblowing on classified information. That's the
yes,
whole thing.
you should have never opened up your mouth if you're going to go up the same ladder that everybody else goes up, and they stop because, well, I'm not allowed to tell anymore.
Or
I
you
got to
know
get
what?
out.
I mean, so he could even deliver that better. So as smart as he thinks he is or wants to come off as by saying phrases that nobody would ever say in normal life, like extraterrestrial hypothesis of a biological sentient,
Yeah,
that's
I
not
agree.
natural, but he
Right.
could do
He,
it better. And instead of saying, and that's all I'm going to say about that. All he has to say is, dude, I would love to tell you exactly what it is, but I've been threatened that that's classified and they're going to lock my ass up if I say something any
exactly.
further about
Yeah,
that. And that's
yeah,
going to be my response anytime you breach one of those subjects. Please breach them because I want to tell you that I would love to tell you. I would love to shout it from the rooftops, but I can't because it's classified. And that should tell you
right.
all you need to know is that it's
Yeah,
classified. I'm not allowed
yes,
to tell you in
Right.
yes,
verbatim what it is, but I'm telling you it's
agreed.
classified and I can't go any further on that specific one. But take another swing. Like, what other questions do you have?
Well,
Now, with
it,
that being said, do you think this is perhaps maybe trying to misdirect people, their thoughts on this? Where, all right, yeah, we have, like you were saying, they talk like robots. So do you think they're playing like a game with the public?
I think the guy with the soul patch does.
That
I
Lou
don't.
Elizondo?
Yeah, I think he's a plant. He's a CIA operative. I
you
think.
talking about the ancient alien guy?
No,
No,
no. Lou
no, Lou.
Oh,
Elizondo
I
used
know.
to be,
Yes, I
right,
know who you're
yeah,
talking about. I know who
yeah.
you're talking about. I agree. Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
if you're doing
Another
if
one. Another one is I'd like to tell you what I know, but I can't. So why are you even starting? I don't really even need to see you.
yeah,
You know,
why say
I'd really
anything?
like to. I'd really like to tell you what I know, but I can't. Well, dude, you're one of them.
I thought
You're
that was
one
the
that
whole
we're
point of
fighting.
whistleblowing, like is that
Yeah,
you
Right,
get
yeah,
whistleblower protection.
yeah.
right.
Another one's that guy that thinks he's got the disclosure. He's got the corner on disclosure. The doctor used to be the medical doctor, and now he does all the disclosure videos. He's the same way. I'd love to tell you what I know, but I can't because no, no, that's not. You're not
Yeah,
part of the rebel force. Then you're one of them. You're one of them that you talked about that you were against forever, but you're one of them because that's the same story we get. We already know the basics, guys. We don't need you to tell us that there was an alien crash in Roswell. We all know it. You don't need to tell us that they found biologicals. We all know it. Tell us more. And
aliens.
well, I don't know if they're aliens. Could be time travelers. Could be a big defense budget thing. I don't know. But
Alien. They are not from this earth or this time or
yeah,
this dimension. That counts as aliens. And if you
yes,
Right.
yes, I
say it
agree.
any other way, then
Right.
you're just
Well, and now all we're looking for is people to be honest. Tell us, guys, this is what we found. This is as far as we found. We don't quite know what it is, but we can't say it's this or that. That's fine. You got all the credibility in the world then. This guy
yeah.
coming up and saying, I can't say anymore. Even SETI is back in business with the radio signals. Zach, I don't know if you're part of our generation as far as SETI, but basically SETI got tired of people looking for aliens and they decided, well, when SETI was formed, it was formed because of one guy created a radio wave telescope in Virginia, I think it was. And and you can send those radio waves across the universe at light speed, right? Radio waves travel at light speed. So, or at light speed, I think. But so that was a way that they're listening instead of trying to see them. They got tired of trying to see him, and this guy said, I'm just going to try to hear him. So anyway, SETI was formed eventually, right? And it went out of business because of budgeting. And and just an offshoot. And I hate when I do this when I'm rewatching these things because I go off talking subject. But I don't believe a word NASA says. So let's just get that out there. All right. But anyway, the radio waves. SETI was there, then it wasn't because of budgeting, and it was kind of fringe. Now they're back. SETI's back. And they've even said if they find anything, they're going to give it to the government first and the government will approve release. Well, that just discredits the whole damn project to me. I mean, it's
Yeah.
good they're looking. I'm glad the government, with all that with all that money, is and resources are looking. I'm happy for that, but I don't really hold any hope out in them telling us anything significant. And
Well,
but
here's a question, Wendell. You were in the Marine Corps. You had some clearance and stuff,
I did.
right? Now, when you get those clearance and you sign that paper,
Hmm.
and there's only so much you could talk about, how real is the threat, or how hard will they come down on you for
Get
Depends
court
on
martialed,
releasing?
right?
depends on who's pursuing you. Depends on how serious they take it. Um, it's serious. It's real.
Right,
It's definitely real. I can't talk about the things I've seen, and they were terrestrial in
right.
origin, things I saw. But I would see articles in the newspaper, and then I would see what really happened in the classified message when I prepared it in the morning. I won't even say a place, but I would see the message, and I would see the newspaper article 2 days later about the incident, and it was not the same incident. And so it was in general, there was something happened, but that was it. So we know very little. It really shocks me that Trump is so absent-minded about it. President Trump, I'm sorry, I don't like when people call him Trump. But when President Trump, um, he seems very absent-minded about the topic, and that tells me he is out of the loop, which we all assume anyway. That presidents come and go, administrations come and go. There's a select group of people that control this kind of stuff, and I don't mean to put out there that they're dark or they're insidious. Nothing of it like that. That's just their job. They're there for until their pension kicks in 30 years, and the presidents come and go. So they just have to deal with presidents. They don't have to inform them. So they lie by omission, kind of thing, to presidents.
As far as like these high-ranking officials that had, higher clearances, I would think that they would, especially if you're getting death threats and stuff, and nobody ever mentioned where you're getting death threats from, but I would think sometimes you could actually be kind of nervous talking about it, and you can only talk up to a certain point.
Yeah,
And that's just my take on it as far as how these guys talk. But Zach, you're right. I mean, they talk like robots and they use like non-English, so it seems scripted as well. But you got to
it depends
wonder.
on how they view. It depends on how they view their service. Also, Jeff, you got to understand anybody that gets even. It's kind of crazy now. You look at some of these people with clearances, and you're thinking, how the hell did they get them? But in general, the FBI does a good job. If somebody has a top secret clearance, like I had top secret and cosmic NATO clearance, and they do a good job with the background. So initially, all these people that have these clearances, they're pretty straight shooters. They're straight shooters. Now, as far as what they're willing to talk about, they will not talk about stuff that they're not supposed to.
Right.
But at the same time, people have different levels of patriotism as far as what my service meant, what my service means. Some people think they're protecting the whole world. Some people think they're protecting the United States. Some people think they're just doing their job, and I just need to do the right thing, kind of thing.
I
But
I think that
go
I
ahead.
think that we have a bastardized view of like what national security means, though. The general public does versus insiders. So, maybe the insiders take it very, very, very serious. I hope they do. But,
Yeah,
the stuff that we hear is that the Epstein files are a matter of national security. And, we can't tell you this because of national security. And like, there's no logic behind it.
yeah,
If somebody
Right.
came out and said, yeah, we have some stuff, we do.
yeah.
And it is so beyond anything that you can think of militarily. we can't talk about it because if anybody else got their hands on it, they would bury us. And
Right.
Yeah, be careful.
even that one statement would be like, okay, you know what? I feel you. I hear you.
Yeah,
Right.
I think be careful what you ask for because you might not like the answer to your question. I think the Epstein files falls under that. I think a lot of us with high views of people would have less views. That's the only reason why that's not coming out.
I
It's the
got you.
truth, and it's
Yeah, it is the truth.
hid behind the guise of national security.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you
it is.
could call anything national security.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, President Trump's in there a bunch, and if President Trump gets a bad image,
Yeah.
then that's bad for the country. And okay,
Yeah.
national
National
security.
security. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it's done. That is correct.
Okay, so
Yes.
whenever these guys go on Brett Baer and say, this or that, and I can't say because national security, I'm really not giving it any credence because you guys put everything under that umbrella of national security. So
Yeah.
like that's not any, and until you say something specific, such as like, hey, yeah, we have stuff and it is extremely advanced and we couldn't afford somebody else getting their hands on it. What, like, that's not breaking any top secret this or that. If you're willing to say, yeah, we have pictures of biological sentience, then you can say, yeah, like the technology is extremely advanced and we have to keep it to ourselves.
Yeah. They're
I
just
got
not
you.
saying anything new. They're not saying anything new, Jeff. And that's the biggest point. And I know you're going to go on a general, what do you think is happening kind of thing. And I'll talk more about that.
That
I'm
should be the
looking
first
forward.
question, that like
Uh,
before you whistle blow, like that's the first question on the application. you know do you have anything new to say? If
Yeah. Right.
not,
Yeah.
this is not a good idea.
Right.
right.
Well,
Right.
and
Yeah.
also you see just in that little clip that we played, Grush says one thing, and then some government official says we have no evidence. I mean,
That
they
was NASA.
contradict each other all the time. Well, it
That's
was,
NASA.
but there was that one other lady who wasn't
Oh,
from
Oh
okay.
yeah,
I
NASA.
got you.
Yeah,
Pentagon
I
yeah,
got you.
spokesperson.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, they keep contradicting each other. So it's like they're playing a game. So, but do you guys, with all the stuff being brought out now with these higher ranking officials and stuff like that, do you guys actually believe that we have uh, downed UFO technology and biologics from this?
I do. I do. But I don't think we have aliens. I think we have something we don't know where they come from. Maybe created by aliens. I don't know. But my view of it is, like I said, I don't, they're rehashing this stuff. They're recycling it. And, we've already went through all this. It's already been said that these entities were created to pilot these vehicles. That's the only thing we found. Now, there are some people that think they've been visiting for thousands of years and our governments have to interact with them. I don't believe that. Our people don't have that much discipline. There's no way in hell they keep that secret. And the other thing is the 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 government just they're like I said, they're telling us things we already know. I want to know something new. Now, what I do think is going to break it wide open is the media age that we're in. I think it's finally catching up with us that everybody has a camera. All the jets have cameras. Pilots are willing to talk. Again, those pilots are captains. They're usually captains, majors, lieutenant colonels. Uh, that's a big deal. And God, I hate to give credit to government testimony because it's no more important. It's not any more important than somebody seeing it in their backyard. But it is a big deal. I guess if you could give it any credibility at all, it is a big deal when these guys that are majors and captains and colonels come out and say, "Hey, I saw this." It does lend your ear a little more to it because these guys do have something to lose. And it's not only during their active service, it's when they collect their pension, because any officer could get called back on active duty and get court-martialed. So if you're collecting a pension from the government as a uniform officer, you can get a call. We're putting you on active duty today just to prosecute you. And so that can happen to all these guys. So I'll give them a little hiccup, you know, I, I really want to tell you guys, please read between the lines, like Zach was saying, but I can only say this. Well, usually if that's happening, there's something going on somewhere. And do I think there's biological entities? Yeah, I think there's things. Lazar and Corso already told us that they were created to pilot these things. Have they found like an alien that you see a gray that came from the dark side of the moon and visited Earth? And I'm not so sure about that. But I do think they have. The reason I don't believe a thing NASA says, if you've seen some of the videos that have come from the space station and the space shuttles,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they are. You can't believe a word they say because they can only talk when 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 the top levels of government tells them, which leads me to believe if the president doesn't know, who's telling them? If the president is so dumbfounded like Trump just seemed to be, uh, President Trump seemed to be, uh, who's telling them? Who's giving them orders? And somebody that I thought was one of the most respectable people in the world, Neil Armstrong, you could tell that guy was torn in two because they wouldn't let him tell the truth either. And
Right.
we're fighting a two-headed monster. Like I said he's going to give it to the government before they release it to the people. Why would you do that? Besides, your funding comes from the government. That would be a good reason, I guess, because they'll cut you off if you don't. But but really, on an ethical standard, why wouldn't SETI, if they get an alien or if they get a radio signal that they think's alien, why wouldn't they release that to the world and let everybody try to chime in on it and maybe find an answer? No, that was the star exploding. That was this, whatever aurora over here. But they don't. They got to send it to the government filter,
Right.
and that just kills me.
Gotcha. Zach, do you believe we have all this stuff here?
I think
And
oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
A civilization that is mastered traveling the speed of light, they don't crash like drunk drivers. So I don't think that we have spacecraft. If we had alien bodies, too many people would need to know about it, and that's not a secret that could be kept for 80 years. I bet 99.9% of sightings are explainable. But like I said, the math works out. It rounds out to zero, like zero chance that we're alone in the universe. It's just a matter of did they visit? Have they been here or not? And part of me, if I was going to jump in with 2 feet on, yeah, we're not alone. I would say the only way to physically travel great distances like that are through other means than from point A to point B. And so I would give NASA maybe a little, if I believe anybody, it would probably be NASA. Like, hey, we've never seen them floating around in space and entering our atmosphere and, burning up on the way in, traveling from point A to point B. I think it's more dimensional or I hate to say it out loud, but like teleporting almost.
Right.
to be able to travel that far physically. Um, I'm not an alien, so maybe, traveling for 100 years in a spacecraft is not a big deal to them. But yeah, I would say if they've perfected that type of travel, then they don't crash like drunk drivers.
Gotcha. And one thing I find interesting is that, they say they have these crashed UFOs, and the first thing is the military takes over, and it's we got to beat our adversaries on this. We got to hush hush, and it always goes to the military first. They never ask the question, well, how the hell did they get here, or what are these things? So it's always like we got to one up our adversaries. Do you guys see any of that playing out right now with the technologies?
I think the veil of secrecy on technology is so tight that there are things that we can do. I, I don't think that we have craft like we hope we have. We probably have stuff a little better than what we know of, but I don't think it's light years ahead of what we think we have. Um, I've always been a believer, though, if you can think, if there's a reason why we can think of things, and if you can think it, that it can be, not that you're going to make it be in your lifetime or your children's children's lifetime. But as far as the one up in our adversaries, I would hope we're over that point right now, because we're all looking for it. But I'll get to it more in the general. What is your view? But um, I think we're approaching a, I hate to use the word disclosure event, but we're approaching a disclosure event. I don't think there's 100 alien species flying around the Earth. I don't. I do think there is one, and I think they're on the dark side of the moon. Have you guys have you ever looked into? It's interesting. There were 6 cosmonauts that reported angel type creatures flying. 6 of them, or 3 angels. 6 cosmonauts reported it. Um, Flying in space by their space station back in the 70s, I think. But um, but I think all the craft you see going left and then all of a sudden zooming off at a 90-degree angle on the space station videos and the space shuttle videos, I think those are things that kind of hide on the dark side of the moon because we never see the dark side of the moon. You know how odd it is that our moon doesn't spin?
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
goes. We only see what we see all the time, and so I think the things, even the reports on Earth where you see sightings here, I think they're just short shuttle runs for the dark side of the moon, um, or something. I think there might be one species that was creative enough to get here, or has been here all along with us. But I don't buy into the thing that there's 1,000 alien species flying around the Earth and they dive in every now and then. I don't believe that.
Gotcha. Zach, what do you think about the military application with the aircraft or the UFOs uh, that they recover and the technology? What do you think about the military applications first to one up somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I mean, that's probably the most logical argument is to get it to the military as quickly as possible. But um, I feel like there's so many people would see and be exposed to whatever happened prior to the military getting there, anyways, that more information would be out. It's not the Men in Black come around with a stick and wipes everybody's memory. But if that were the case, if that's happened a lot, I don't really see any proof of it. I don't see any like dramatic advances in technology, with the exception of right after Roswell. You got what fiber optics, you got Kevlar, Velcro, like all of these things came out of the Roswell, or happened right after the Roswell
Right.
incident. So, you could apply those jumps in advancement to that.
You didn't
But
even mention the 5 government agencies that were formed within 3 months of Roswell.
there you go.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
all of the circumstantial stuff like really points to something happened there. And I think that would be the same reaction if that was a I don't know, a Russian advanced, plane versus an alien plane. I think the same reaction would take place. Like, holy
Gotcha.
shit, Russia's so far ahead of us. Like, we need to build these agencies, reverse engineer all of this stuff that they were ahead of us on, and get caught up. And they would do the same if it was alien in nature. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly, but I think that's the only thing I am sympathetic to is that, yeah, of course I would do the same thing. I wouldn't put it on CNN if
Right.
something happened. I just wouldn't. I've been in the retail business. I've dealt with the general public. There's
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of and if it advances our country and keeps us safe, and sometimes you gotta swallow the pill to get
I
those
got you.
things.
Jeff,
Right.
let me ask you a question, Jeff. Do you think that their fear of the population finding out about something like this, let's just say there was a flying saucer circling the earth and we knew it and we could film it and we could show everybody, but the world would panic. Do you think the world would panic?
You know, I think we've become so
Numb.
used to them being around that no, we wouldn't panic. You'd still have part of the population that's gets up, goes to work, comes home, watches
It's my
TV.
view. That's
Right.
my view, dude, big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
you say his name's not Satan. If Lucifer is Satan is just, what do you say it was? That for the devil, Satan is not his name, it is a designation, right?
Adjective.
Adjective. All right.
Yeah.
So if Lucifer himself came, we found that he was in Missouri today, we wouldn't like it. We would be afraid for a minute, but we'd do whatever we do.
You'd still watch the
You know,
next episode of the Kardashian.
yeah, you'd still watch the next Married Stories episode, but the but that's what I'm
Exactly.
thinking.
So think of it as a tool. So put yourself in their shoes. Think of it as a tool. Okay, so
Mhm.
say we disclose this. What do we get out of it? What does the government get out of it? Or are they all of a sudden everybody's going to see the government in a good light? Or that was the right thing to do? Like that doesn't even factor into the decision making.
No,
Is
you
it
were
the
freaking
right
liars
thing
for the
to
last
do?
50 years.
Right.
So what? They don't
But
care.
what can you do?
They
They're
don't
our
care.
government. They're our
Okay,
government. Whether we like them, whether we don't, they're in charge.
but if they
It's not
use it
like
as a
our opinion's
tool,
going to matter.
but they look at it as a tool. Information is a tool. It can be used for psyops. It can be used for distractions. It can be used for cover-ups. It can be used for, a number of different things. So if the U.S. government got caught doing something they shouldn't be doing in Brazil, and they or bombed a hospital or something, just something outlandishly crazy and either evil or accidental. Hey, all right, we have all of this information we can release, and we can shorten that news cycle from, a month to a day by releasing this information or that information. But if you do it out of the kindness of your heart as a government, you lose that tool. Like you can't use it anymore. I'm just trying to think
So
logically, not what I want them
you
to
think
do, what they
you
should
think
do.
the you think the people should not know the truth?
Should, according to who? The government doesn't care. Yeah,
True.
yeah. Me
Yeah, that
speaking, yeah,
is true.
I want to know
It's
it.
subjective. It's
I
subjective.
want to know it, but the government doesn't care. They don't care. That it's all about self-preservation. It's
So why
kind of
do we look to
it's not
them
like
to
the U.S.
verify that aliens exist?
Do
Why do
what?
we look to the government that aliens exist? If they don't care about the truth because they have their own like you say, they have their own motivations behind them, and the truth isn't always what we want the public to
It's
hear.
because
It's
they
okay.
flood the zone. It's because they flood the zone. Who tells you how much of your money you can keep? Who tells you who's going to be the leader of your community? Who tells you where you can and cannot go? Who
Right.
tells you, what kind of car you can drive or how much it's going to cost you um, to drive that car? And yeah, I could go on for every
Right.
aspect of your entire
Yeah.
life. So whenever they say, so they're like by default the authority on
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
agree.
And we're basic creatures that by default will lean on that. Now, some people have woken up or taken the red pill and don't do it, but really this is the only aspect of your life that you don't. They still flood the zone in every other aspect
I do
of your
agree
life.
with you there. I do
Yeah.
agree with you
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But I'm not looking for their approval whether aliens exist. It helps. It helps with our media. It helps with
Hmm.
the people
Support.
that never look at this. Yeah.
Mutual support, right? And if they say it, then 60% of the population will think what you think. If they
Yeah.
don't say it, then you're still on an island with the
Yeah.
rest of the lions, right? And
Yeah.
the
Right.
lion island is much smaller than the sheep island. It's
I
just
got you.
the
Yeah.
way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
But with this, flooding the media with whistleblowers here constantly, and it seems that we got a lot of video, from military pilots and, the aircraft they're flying. And not only that, but stuff coming out of the ocean that we're catching, on radar. And I know these are all fuzzy photos and stuff like that, but we're seeing it through the instruments that they got. Does that give like people like Bob Lazar more credibility, and should he get an apology? Benny and Barney Hill, the fire in the sky that Travis Walton. Do more people believe some of the stories that we used to think were just outlandish and conspiracy theories due to all this?
I think, yeah, Lazar, if anybody, is the most credible. And I have a little bit of a different take on Lazar. The one thing that I found authentic is that he could draw what he saw. Like the guy that was just on Brett Baer that you showed us,
Yeah,
he said, yeah, there were pictures. Like,
right.
hand me that
Show
pen.
us.
Hand me that
Yeah,
Yeah.
pen hand me that pen real quick. What's the first thing that you would do if you saw an alien but you weren't allowed to take that picture? Of like, okay, I gotta go. I gotta go. Well, it's
right.
still, mind, I
Yeah.
gotta draw this thing and I gotta tell my wife or something, or my best
Yeah,
buddy, or
yeah,
call
I
my
can.
dad. But that's one factor that I think goes into the Bob Lazar thing. He hasn't chased money, so that's
Right.
number two. And he also educated. Like nobody ever really described the way the government works as compartmentalized. Maybe they did, I just didn't hear it. But he was very particular in saying that, hey, I worked on the left wheel. Those people over there worked on the right wheel. Like that's just
Right.
the way it was. This is what I saw, or this is what I was working on, so I assume it was for something like this. But I think that his story is very easily experimental in nature too, by Lockheed Martin or Skunk Works or whoever. Like, hey,
Yeah,
we're trying this new idea on how to make a vehicle fly, and this is the shape that we went with. um and they never came out and said that it was extraterrestrial or anything, but the fact that he could draw it, you could tell that was not the first time that he drew it. Like, he's a smart, rational, authentic guy. I'm sure he just sketched at night as he was, while he
right.
was working there, of what he saw. And this guy on Brett Baer probably he never thought of that, because I don't think he's telling the truth. That's just me, but I don't think he's telling the truth, because how a how a how a normal human being would react is one, more
I agree.
frantic that we have aliens. Two,
Right.
like try to record what you saw in some way. If you saw a picture, then draw the picture.
Which has been my point on Neil Armstrong going to the moon, Zach. Totally different subject. Same thing. I went to the moon. I'm coming back. What do you have to say? Not much. You just landed on the moon. You have more to say. So anyway, uh, I agree with everything Zach just said. There's three people, Jeff. Write this down for when I'm dead and gone that have told the truth. One is Billy Meyer, who's probably high on heroin 75% of his life, so he doesn't care if you believe him or not. Two, I'm not saying he's a heroin addict. That was an exaggeration. I'm just saying he was himself. Bob Lazar and General Corso. And I hope my kids will see it. I know my kids will see it that they were telling the truth before they pass on. But those three people have been telling the truth for forever, my lifetime, and they've been on the outside looking in. Now the inside's looking out a little bit, and they're starting to repeat the same stuff that these guys have been already talking about. So I agree with Zach. I don't know if I totally say he discredited himself because when he went up against that wall and said, I won't say anymore, he discredited himself a little bit. But it is good to at least to see somebody push a little bit in the public eye for it. Hell, Brett Bear interviewed him.
Yeah, if all you have to say as a whistleblower is something that could be um mixed up or that could come off as just a cover story, like no details. And I'm not even talking about juicy details. I'm talking about the stupid details. That's what makes something real and authentic. Like the fact that Lazar could draw what he was doing. And even when he was drawing it, like he drew this like little box, and he's like, and that was like the foot stand or whatever. Like he didn't have to put that in there, but why did he? And so even little details, that's what that are non-consequential. Like that's what makes something authentic or more believable to me. All he's saying is just, here are your 5 bullet points. Yeah, I saw a file and there was a picture of an alien in there. And you know what? That could be a test. It's like, hey, Jeff, I'm going to Egypt. Wendell, I'm going to Brazil. You tell somebody 2 different things, and then all of a sudden your grandma calls you and says, hey, you're going to Brazil? Like, I know who told her that. So maybe the Pentagon slips in, and every major and 4-star general, they slip in every now and then, something that to tempt them to come off as a whistleblower or catch them up on something. I don't know if that's true or not, but
it does kind of make sense because these whistleblowers come out and then all of a sudden the government contradicts it with whatever speech they got about we got nothing, so the file's gone and stuff like that. So, but what about these ones that are coming out of the ocean? Growing up, I always heard about them coming out of the sky and stuff like that. Maybe 1 or 2 that, came out of a lake or something. But now we're catching a lot that are coming out of the ocean and doing some incredible speeds, with our technology and our submarines. And they say they're catching ones that are like 2 football fields long, going 500 knots in the ocean, not making a ripple. And then they go up and they're gone. How does that make you feel? And do you believe it?
Well, uh, I'll chime in real quick because I don't have a lot of stuff on it. I think it's like the dark side of the moon. Where else would they hide it but our oceans? Makes sense. And Zach lives out by Catalina Island there in California. And on the other side of Catalina, Zach, not the California side, but on the other side, there is a suspected space base at the bottom that they have those USOs come out all the time. So Catalina Island's a hot spot for that. Uh, but yeah, I think where else would they hide in? I mean, look at us. We're dumbfounded by our oceans.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
it just kills me that we're talking about stars in space and we haven't even looked at our oceans yet, which I think is full of aliens that have come here on meteorites that have landed in the ocean and now they're octopuses or something. I give it as much credibility as you see one flying in the sky, Jeff. I think, yeah, that makes sense that they're in the oceans and coming out. And now you have Navy folks talking about it. Again, something doesn't connect because you and I talk about connected dots, Jeff, and I have connected dots between Lazar Corso, Billy Myers, and I can't say I know for a fact, but I'm pretty damn sure about what I think about them. But the same thing. Okay, the USS Nimitz is in the ocean, and a USO flies out, and sailors testify on it, and are whistleblowers on it, and it's not a big deal. I don't connect that. There's something off there. There's just the USS Nimitz is a big deal, and in itself, if anything happens to it. Uh, but these sailors that are saying they were on the Nimitz and they saw this, and then there's nothing else besides their testimony. I don't know what. There's a dot to be connected that I haven't connected yet on that.
How about you, Zach? The underwater ones.
Well, one, Dad, you said something that, where else would they hide? But why hide? Why would it be important
Oh,
to,
and the anonymity is beautiful. It's great. Anonymity is great.
but
You can
do
do your
you
thing and
hide
not
behind it?
people not know your name.
They have a vehicle the size of 2 football fields. Like, whenever you come across a lizard, do you jump behind a tree so the lizard doesn't know that you exist? I think that, again, if they have
Well, if the lizard bites
perfected,
my leg, yeah, he gets my attention.
that's out of fear, not out of anonymity, though. That's so I haven't heard um any convincing argument of why they would fear us in any way. And it's tough for me, man. When they show these things, they look like drones. They look like a version of a drone, maybe a version I've never seen before, but they look like a version of a drone. And if they're wanting to be anonymous, then I don't know what they're doing swimming around, destroyer battleships and US military bases. So I don't know. And like you said, all the video and photos are all fuzzy or in the not even night vision. It's like the infrared
Yeah.
vision. Like,
Yeah.
just click the toggle so I could see the blue of the water and I can see the shine of this silver UFO alien spacecraft that is flying. It looks too much like a drone, some sort of drone to me.
Right.
I don't know
What do you
though. But
think about
maybe I
this
don't even
theory,
know what
Jeff?
I'm looking at though. I don't even know how to look at the infrared video. I don't know
Right.
what's dead space, what's water, what's white, what's black, what's the gray. I don't know what is up and what is down. I don't even know what the camera angle of this thing is. Is this from a ship? Is this from a satellite? Is this from a plane? Are you looking down on it, or are you looking at it on the horizon? I couldn't really tell what I was looking at in a lot of that video. But
Right.
What do you think about?
I hope it's real though. I think that
Yeah.
they're my favorite alien type. The ones that can
What do
go in and out of
you
water.
Yeah.
What do you think? Check out Catalina Island, by the way, for me, Zach. But anyway, what do you think about this theory? Jeff, and I always, this is how you go through life, dumb. It's stupid. The Yucatan Peninsula, I guess that's in Mexico. I never really connected it. But do you realize that the meteor that killed the dinosaurs happened in our backyard,
Oh yeah, yeah.
1,000 miles away from us? 1,000 on the other side of the Gulf of Mexico, the meteor hit, made a crater 180 kilometers
Mhm.
wide or something. But anyway,
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
a
one
part of
that
Mexico that goes up into the Gulf of
it's a
Mexico.
big bowl now. Yeah, the big
Yeah.
bowl after that one hit. And that killed the dinosaurs, right? And there's a theory out there that the aliens are the ones that diverted that to us in order for us to take hold here, because we couldn't become the dominant species with the dinosaurs on the earth. I don't believe the theory. I just heard it. It was interesting, but I did research a little bit about whether we could have existed if the dinosaurs were still here, and I don't think we could.
Yeah, I don't buy that theory that it was aliens. I mean, we're floating through debris all the time here, so it's just a matter of time before something hits. But that's me.
Yeah,
Zach,
but
your
I didn't
take
I
on
didn't
it?
realize the biggest meteor ever hit in our backyard, which is kind of interesting now
It is.
to
It is.
me that the one that killed the dinosaurs landed over here. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, just 100% chance.
Besides all this, the military talk and the talking heads, how do you guys feel about the just aliens in general and just being instead of getting the approval from government, we've all heard the stories. A lot of them, you were a kook if you believed it and stuff like that. When I was a kid, my dad took me to see E.T., and that was the first time I really started getting interested in, is there life out there, besides us? Because you point anywhere and it goes on for forever. And that was something that would keep me up at night. That, man, it goes on forever. So, what are your thoughts on aliens in general? And are we the only ones, in our universe?
Do you guys believe that there's aliens? One at a time. Don't give me the bullshit about there's a million stars and the probability is that we're not alone. Don't give me that. Again, you're just repeating what we already know. Do you believe that there's aliens? Zach?
Like Men in Black version of aliens or
Do you believe there's aliens? Do you believe there's another race besides our, or they could even be like us. They're just different from somewhere else. I mean,
yes,
they could
yeah,
be
there
humans
there
from
is
somewhere else.
life. There is life somewhere other than here, without a doubt.
So they
I
could
don't
they
know.
could
I don't
be
know if they're more.
humans.
Yeah, I don't know if they're more advanced
Right.
than us. They may
I
not be
agree.
more. They're not
I'm
visiting
so I
us,
don't think
but
they're lizard people. I don't think they're turtles. I don't think anything. They could be us, just from somewhere else. What about you, Jeff? Do you believe in aliens?
Do I believe in aliens?
Oh,
Uh,
this conflicts with your Christian faith.
yeah, I do not. I'm telling you. And when you brought up the fact that the Russian cosmonauts saw what appeared to be angels to them, just
Yeah, people flying in the sky, in space.
yeah, kind of verifies that for me. And
Yeah, it's Zach, just to kind of catch you up a little bit. Jeff and I were talking about aliens. You know how we're like-minded on a lot, Jeff and I. But we were talking about aliens, and he told me one day that he thought aliens. He didn't believe in aliens, and I was like, "Holy cow! I didn't know that." And he said, "No, I think they're demonic." And so that just to catch you up, that's kind of where we're coming
hmm,
from. Why I said it's against his Christian faith uh, that aliens exist, because you kind of take the thing that they're. I don't know. Is it right for me to say you think they're evil if there is another
no,
life
not
form?
no. They're not all evil. I don't think they're all evil. I mean, if you look at the descriptions of angels in the Bible, they're not these little chubby, fat babies with wings. These things, if you read, they stunned mankind here on earth to where they fell on their knees and like were shivering in fear until they were told you could rise, don't be afraid. Now,
Right.
some of these stories about aliens visiting people and it freaked them out. And then you got the other side where they're abducting humankind, doing some experimentations and stuff like that. And they show up 5 days later, you know, walking out of the woods like the
Travis Walton.
Travis story. Yeah, his story. And then you got uh, they kind of match up UFOs with the cattle mutilations, but I don't think they're all demonic. I think they can come in many forms, both sides, and
Yeah,
that's just
yeah.
how I see it.
Maybe we're confusing aliens and demons for angels and demons as aliens, or you're confusing aliens for angels and demons,
Right, right,
talking about the same thing but using a different set of letters.
yeah. And
I
if you
kind
go
of,
back to the ancient hieroglyphics and some of the Bible stories where, you know, that fiery chariot comes down and takes Enoch away and he just disappears and it was taken to heaven. I mean, there's little things in the Bible there that kind of correlate stuff in the sky that couldn't be explained. So the people explained it the best that they could with what they had at that time. You know, it looked like a chariot of fire.
Speaking of that, did the aliens build the pyramids? Was that a question on your agenda?
we talked about that last week. I thought if
Oh,
we could travel back in time, I'd be disappointed going to the pyramids because maybe it was just a bunch of slaves. You look around, we were bred to be slaves. I don't, you can look anywhere around us, husbands to wives, wives to husbands. Uh, it is in our DNA to serve, I
ambition.
guess.
Ambition.
Yeah,
I think it's we don't need aliens to explain ambition.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
human beings built the pyramids. They also built the iPhone. So
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I kind of one theory I was telling Jeff, you didn't hear us, Zach. We were talking and we were kind of going over how we would talk about this tonight. And I was telling Jeff, I really don't know till I hear your monologue, kind of which angle I'm going at, because you kind of tell us what we're talking about. And even though I know the topic and I know what's going on, but I really don't know what angle I'm going to come at. But I also told him that during these discussions, Zach, even tonight, I learned. I learned while we're talking, which is the basic premise of what we do. We philosophize, and maybe I'll change my mind while we're talking. And one of the things that have came about in our discussions that makes more sense than really anything I've bought into in the past is that we have the I think we have a misconception that we're the first and that we're on the cutting edge. And I think humans have been here before and they've had to move along for whatever whether it be weather, whether it be the planet acting up, uh just like you said, ambition maybe. But it makes a lot of sense to me that all these alien descriptions you hear of are humanoid in nature, for one, but their eyes are bigger, their nose are smaller, and and it kind of makes sense to me that the humans have done this before, have been through this exercise,
yeah, we assume we're
and
the peak of intelligence, but I mean, really, we're probably just the
well,
latest.
we also assume we're the first, yeah, and we're
Yeah,
not.
we're just the latest.
That we may not be the first, and maybe humans did this before, and they did explore space. And where did it come from, Jeff? We were talking about they were wanting to go to Mars, and they're doing it now.
Right.
So what they're hoping for is to genetically alter human beings. So right now, the people that are going to Mars, or they think they're going to Mars, they're training them. The next generation they hope will have a little head start on this one, and they won't have to do as much. And ultimately, they want to genetically alter human beings so they breathe less, they require less, they're stronger, they're faster, they're able to adapt to these hostile environments. So eventually, they'll be living out in space, which is dark. So their eyes are going to be bigger. They're going to oxygen is going to be an issue. So and strange bacteria in things. So we don't want these big snouts out there bringing in all the foreign bacteria from another planet. So eventually their noses are going to be smaller, flat, and tiny. And all I'm thinking is that maybe all that's been done before. It's already been done. And a long, 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 long time ago, it's been done. And these things that we're seeing as aliens are actually our kind of guys that have evolved from the state that we're in now. That kind of makes a lot of sense to me because they're seriously talking about genetically altering astronauts and breeding astronauts, which back to our original point of Lazar and Corso saying these things were bred to fly these UFOs, these discs. They did nothing else, but that's what they were bred for. That's what our government is talking about doing to our astronauts, is that are breeding them for mission to Mars. And that's exactly what Corso said that some other race has already done. And that's what the Roswell crash was. These entities were bred to fly these machines. And it just struck me as interesting that our space agencies are talking about it now. We're hoping to genetically alter the human genome so they don't need as much oxygen. They are stronger, they are faster, they're able to survive in these environments. So I kind of buy into that maybe them as us.
Yeah, I think that one's probably as accurate as any.
Wendell, on that part of what you were saying there, the altering the DNA of humans, uh, there is, uh, I don't think that's the first time, like you said, and we can go back to Genesis where the falling angels found human women to be appealing, so they came into the human ladies to be wives, and that altered the DNA before. Thus, we got the giants, and you see how that ended up with the
Right.
flood there. So maybe we're gonna wipe ourselves out again, or something.
Who knows? But I think we're just
Right,
we're off base a little bit to think that we're the first ones that's ever been here. I'm
right,
kind of
right.
buying more and more into that. This has been done before.
Zach,
It's
any
all
last words? Any last thoughts on the disclosure and your theories about aliens in general? And does it make you nervous that that according to them we're not the only ones here?
It doesn't make me nervous because, I mean, what am I going to do? I have a handgun. So I mean,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, what am I going to do? And that might be President Trump's take too, is that there's literally nothing we can do about it. If you know about it or not, there's nothing that we can do about it. So I need to move on to things that I can impact. And, maybe that's the feel that I get from his comments. But I think that my last piece of advice, or whether it's you or somebody that you're listening to, is that believing every UFO story is stupid. Believing none of them is even more stupid. So
I agree
we
with
don't
that.
know, and anybody that says they do,
Right,
they're full of shit.
right. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
none of us know. None of us know. Um, yeah. Yeah. If believing every UFO story is stupid, believing none of them is just as stupid.
Good way to put it. Wendell, how about you?
I think I kind of said my part as far as I don't think we're alone. What we're not alone with is in question. Um, I think there's more and more proof. Like I said, humans have went through this exercise before, and and I don't see God. As religious as I am, I don't see God creating a bunch of different things. I think we like to think we're the first, but maybe we're not. Maybe we're the 10,000th iteration of this, and other humans before us have went beyond Earth. I did hear a bad take today. I didn't really agree with it that it's guaranteed that we'll have to evacuate the Earth at some point. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think if we leave, we'll leave voluntarily. And like what Zach says, it's just the ambition driving us to do. But we can't go as we are. I think that's a fact. We can't go to Mars as we are. They're going to need to automate, you know, people and oxygen and things that we need to survive. I did find it interesting because I'd been trying to debunk the moon landing, and you know, I d- they seem pretty casual at saying that they could hit water molecules with electricity and divide the hydrogen and the oxygen, and that's how oxygen is created in the space shuttle and in Apollo. And uh, I just find it hard to accept that in 1969 they were doing this, but maybe they were, and because basically oxygen is plentiful as long as you have water,
Right.
urine, any kind of water source, sweat. They can bombard it with electricity, divide the hydrogen and oxygen molecules, and you get pure oxygen. Uh, well, in that case, why do you need a tank? But because I always found it odd that a scuba diver can go down and he's hurting for air in 30 minutes, but we could go on a 4-day journey to the moon and oxygen wasn't a problem.
Right.
And
Right.
so, but I looked into that a little bit, and that's what they say they do on the space station. That's what they do on the space shuttle was that they they recycle every ounce of hydrogen of water, and they do this oxygen generation routine to it. So I don't know if I believe all of it. I got to believe some of it. They do have a space station, but
Right.
I'll look into it further. But I just don't think. Back to your question, I don't think we're the first iteration of human beings, and it makes a lot of sense to me that we evolve and our eyes get bigger and our noses getting smaller because of the places we're going to. And I can see that. That's how evolution is. I mean, it's a basic definition of evolution. You look at creatures on Earth and how they modify their bodies and their habits and their behaviors generation to generation because they got to deal with this hurdle to survive. And I think humans have done that, which is astounding to me because maybe we're much, 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 much older than we even could conceive, you know, on this planet.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
when I was in college, and I was in a biology class, and we saw this picture of this Galapagos tortoise, and the oldest picture was a drawing of one back in the early 1800s or late 1700s, and its neck was like about the size of my hand. And then there was a photograph of one 50 years later, and the neck was like this big. And another 100 years went by and the neck was this big. And now the Galapagos tortoise, its neck is like the size of, it's 6 feet long. It's the size of our body. And what happened was the water level in the Galapagos kept going up and up and up. And the food that they ate was on this tree. And so its neck, or sorry, water level went down, and so its neck had to get longer to still reach its food, and that was
Yeah.
natural evolution. But it's the same thing with aliens. The reason they don't have any muscles because there's no gravity in space. They don't need to be
Exactly.
strong, right?
Exactly,
They
Carney.
stop using their body and they use their mind much more. That's why they got big heads. They're
Yep.
nothing but pupils. That's why they
Right.
have big eyes that let more light in to see in the dark out there. So yeah, all of that makes sense, but it's also a researcher making a movie could come up with that too, right?
Right.
And it's hard to filter out which of our ideas come from the creative Hollywood space and which come from evidence like not seen but assumed, like the stuff from Roswell and stuff like that. But I say that I have the same argument about Bigfoot. The reason I think Bigfoot does not exist is because in 350 gun-toting years, and everybody having a camera in their pocket, nobody has ever produced a single piece of evidence that Bigfoot is there, other than the one, Sally or whatever her name is, that's walking
Right.
along the water. In 300 gun-toting years, we haven't been able to shoot one of these things. Like, nah, give me a break. But so I'll
Gotcha.
I'll I'll be an absolute believer when an alien abduction is abducted or is caught in 1080p on an iPhone to be able to see it. Not this, I don't know, I feel like every single disclosure comes with some sort of weird, funky twist. Yeah, we got something on camera. Awesome. Let's see it. Oh, it's infrared camera. So like, white and black, imbalanced and can't tell what's
Right.
what. Or yeah, this guy saw it. Or he's a whistleblower and he knows everything. Oh, I can't get into that. I can't get into that. It's some wonky twist with every single disclosure and it's annoying and you kind of get fed up with it that I'm quick at this point. I'm quick to dismiss people, and
Gotcha.
until I see a little bit of authenticity, and maybe that's what they were going for. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe I'm the one being played here, and I'm falling into their hand. But either way, I got more important stuff to do than take down the U.S. government.
Things like this keep my childlike curiosity going, and that's something I really enjoy is to keep exploring. I don't have any evidence of any of this, but it still fascinates me. So until I agree with you, Zach, until absolute proof is shown, do I believe it? Uh, Hardly, but that childlike curiosity in me is keep exploring, keep an open mind, and it just gives me fuel to keep on going. In the mundane world, sometimes
Right.
you revert back
Fun to talk
to
about.
yeah, fun to talk about.
I did. Dad, did I send you that video?
Yeah,
Oh
about what?
yes,
Uh, about which
the
one?
orb.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
something.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I absolutely saw it.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but I wouldn't even know if I'd call it an orb because it wasn't like illuminating. It was the color of a bird, but it wasn't a bird. It was just sitting in the middle of the sky. But it was much closer than the video kind of shows it. I don't know why cameras do that, but in the video it looked further away, but it wasn't. Like I could see it better in person than I could on the video. And um it started on my left and then the road turned left. And so it ended up being on my right. I saw it. And then, of course, a mountain or a hill was on my left. So it went behind that. And I scrambled to get my phone out and shot a video of it. But yeah, I mean, it was just like floating there and then it just dropped out of the sky. I don't know. It was weird.
What do
I,
you
well,
think about that?
I don't know. It could have been a drone just floating there and then the battery died and fell out of the sky. I don't know. No, I'm
You
not
know,
leaning towards that, but I don't know. It,
Right.
it wasn't a bird though. It wasn't a bird. I can 100% say that it was not a bird.
Jeff and I took a lot of pride in you coming out with that because that was right after our episode of Skinwalker Ranch and how the lady told us that it wouldn't be what you see while you're here, but it'll be when you look at your film. And you said that when you looked at your film is when you actually noticed it more. And Jeff and I took a lot of pride in that we had done a public service.
Yeah, it was weird. That's you know what, but one thing that I have been doing lately is that I actually look.
Yeah.
I think that is, and I fall into that trap quite often, is that I discount that there's anything there at all.
Right.
But also I couldn't tell you the last time that I actually looked up into the sky. You know
Right.
what I mean? Everybody's nose over your toes, left turn, right turn,
Oh
looking down
yeah.
at your
Yeah.
phone. How often do you look at the sky, day or night? How often do you go out and look at the stars, really look at the stars?
Right.
Um, so that's one like conscious effort that I am making, as of late, maybe the last year or so,
Right.
actually, all right, take a second and look around. Let's see if there's anything
That's
out
the
there.
one thing I have been doing probably for about 10 years now is I know where I'm going, but I constantly look out the windshield, seeing traffic in front of me, but I take a scan of the sky all the time around me, just a glimpse, especially at night when I'm driving home at 11 and stuff like that. You see a lot of lights in the sky, and I live by an airport, but I'm fascinated with planes and helicopters, but I kind of take a little bit more of a glance around all the time.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not just, orbs that I've seen. It's, owls. Yeah, I see a
Right.
ton of owls, like, because I look around before I walk in the house, I do a 360 just to
Yeah,
look
that's
and see
pretty
what's
cool.
out there. And you
Right.
see more. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, maybe, I try to look in the mirror, whenever there is some sort of argument or, debate, what am I doing wrong or what could I do different, and I think that is one thing is that a lot of people are quick to dismiss, including me, but they've never even looked into the sky to
Right.
to to see if anything's there.
Gotcha.
The more you look, the more likely you're going to see something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Jeff, I truly do believe though that we're about halfway through the desensitizing the public though.
Yeah.
I really do. I think we're about halfway through, and the it's going to be it's a fact that there's something else around us. What it is still to be determined, but but there's definitely something else here besides our current iteration on Earth, and and I think there are certain people that know it, certain organizations that may know it, and I because I think we are getting blitzed right now with information that would is designed to desensitize us to the shock of it happened. They really have a low opinion. When I say they, whoever's in charge of this information, they have a low opinion of what we can handle, and we're going to stop paying our bills, and we're going to stop functioning as a society, and uh, that's
Well,
what I think all this stuff is.
right. But the other problem is we got a microwave society. Our attention span sucks anymore. I mean, like Zach was saying, oh, that's great. Let me watch the next episode of the Kardashians. Or let me flip through the iPhone, see what I could see. It's almost
Yeah,
become that our attention span doesn't last long at all.
it's
And
evolving us in a certain way, Jeff.
it is. It
And
is.
you could say it's negative or it's positive, but it is definitely evolving us in a certain way.
Devolving.
Yeah,
Well, we are
devolving
however
us.
you say it, but you're going to see children come out of the womb with a curved neck, looking so they can look at the iPhone.
Yeah. Right, right. So, and like you said, you know, if especially on like a podcast, if you're not flashy in the first couple minutes or something like that, they go on to the next one.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I need
yeah.
to.
Well, we
So,
had that.
I'm
We
gonna
did-
send you this. I'm gonna send you this video.
all right, yeah,
So you have it.
well, we had that super intro, which I loved, that had the Exorcist and all that on it.
yeah.
But you noticed that when you looked at the analytics, that people were clicking off before they got to the end of the intro. So
I
that's
know.
why
Yeah.
we're
So,
kind of short. We're kind of short at the beginning then.
right, right. Well, with that, guys, Zach, thank you for coming on. Appreciate your input. Always good to hear from you and your input. So I thank you for coming on. Wendell, it was a good show tonight. I think we hit a lot of
Good talk.
topics. It was a good talk, good philosophizing. So to everybody out there, thank you for watching. Keep that childlike curiosity going. Don't leave your stories buried. If you got a story, email it to us at buriedstory74@gmail.com. Leave a comment below, click that like button, subscribe. Until next time, stay curious.